Okay. Meganium is nice to see. Maybe I should have baited here. Let's see if they shield or don't. It's kind of a 50-50. Oh, they don't shield! That is huge! They just left. I didn't even see the third Pokemon. Oh, man. Hey everyone, I hope the beginning of Season 8 is going well for y'all. I got another video featuring my signature Bastiodon line, and I want to really just give it a shot to see how it works in the lower elos as well in climbing, and for the most part, it's actually worked quite well. If you haven't seen my previous videos on this line, feel free to check out in the links down below. Something I noticed with this line is that it's very, very strong against pretty much any line you go against. There's usually some play out of any matchup, even if you don't win lead the entire time. However, I think a lot of people don't know how to play a lot of matchups, so I'm going to showcase a bunch of matchups here. As I mentioned before too, you don't really need to XL Bastion for this line. Of course, it helps quite a bit, but it's not necessary. And with GoFest around the corner, you can definitely start building up the XLs for that once that event happens. All right, so this is a really bad lead. Stunfisk into a Galvantula counter swap, so it doesn't really get harder counters than that, I think. And so I'm going to come in with Bastiodon to just finish this thing off and try to win out with the 2-to-1 shield advantage Mew. Now, this Stunfisk has not swapped out yet, which is a good sign for me because that means that they're probably weak to Mew. If they had a hard Mew check, then they probably would have swapped here by now. But it's unlikely to be an Umbreon because then they'd be super weak to fighting leads, and it's probably a good chance that it's not Sableye because they would have came in already. So let's see what they have. It might be something else that beats Bastiodon, which is why they haven't swapped out, so they're not too worried about it. And it's going to be a Scrafty, so this is actually going to be a little bit tough. They go straight for the Power Punch, which is why I didn't throw my charge moves right away, because I kind of expected them to have the Foul Play a little bit later. So now we come with Bastiodon. This is not a great matchup. They actually are running Acid Spray, which probably is very similar to Power Punch, honestly. But that makes sense why I didn't throw the Foul Play against my Mew. So despite a really bad lead, still able to play out of it. So as you can see, these are matchups where I'm slowly climbing up through the ranks and eventually hitting a rank 20. So very, very positive lead here. Again, this matchup is very critical in getting a shield with the shield bait with Weather Ball or landing a Hurricane. Either scenarios will guarantee that you win this matchup with shields up against Azu. And this Azu is running Play Rough, which is really nice because it's not going to get to those Ice Beams. So as you can see, I did land the Weather Ball there. So now I have a win con. So they shield, I can double shield and land the Hurricane here too. All right, so no matter what, I maintain switch advantage and we are on even shields. Alright, so then my Bastiodon lock into that Alolan Ninetales, and then I just need my Mew to cover whatever's in the back. Stuff that's in the back, like an Obstagoon, would be really rough. But this is a really, really smart play by my opponent. They actually came in with their G-Fist and farmed down my Pelipper. What this essentially ensures is that they can now beat my Mew. Especially with shields down, right? And so now, usually Mew would win this matchup, but unfortunately, as you can see, I was a few Shadow Claws off. Had they not had the energy lead on the G-Fist, I would have been in a much worse situation. And so, unfortunately, they are able to get the Earthquake as well, and then now they just come in with Ninetales and could actually finish me off quite handily here. Despite a really great lead, my opponent played that really well. And sometimes, you just gotta give it up to your opponents when they play like that. Obviously, the win condition there, I guess, is let the Azu bubble my Pelipper a little bit more so that they can't farm off of me, but that's just not even a play I would have thought of. So really well played by my opponent there. So again, similar situation, you gotta land a shield you gotta grab a shield with Pelipper somehow, right? So I'm fully committing to double baiting here. At this point, I probably should just go Hurricane, but if they shield it, I'm in a terrible spot. So they finally do shield. Now this is good. Able to get to 2 back-to-back Weather Balls here, and so I'm going to just spam out both and able to win Switch. Winning Switch against a Toxicroak lead is really important, and we're on even shields as well. So now, this is actually kind of rough. So they are coming in with Meganium. Meganium does beat Bastiodon as well as Mew, so especially my Mew moveset. So this is kind of a tough one. But what I need to do is take out, just avoid this matchup with the Toxicroak, right? And come with Mew, and just make sure you keep track of the count. So I knew they were just at a Frenzy Plant, so I'm going to throw the energy there. And then now I'm going to just shield and farm this down, right? Now Toxicroak is not going to be able to threaten with any one move, and I could just land the Surf and finish it off. So even Sludge Bomb, I would have survived, just barely, but I would have survived it, and now able to finish off the Meganium. So yeah, with pretty much 3 Bastiodon counters, Azu, Meganium, and Toxicroak still have some play, right? Against bad leads. Alright, so this is a tough one. Double Seal. Now, the reason why this is tough is because if the opponent knows their Bastiodon versus Pelipper matchup, they don't need to shield this matchup, right? And they actually throw right away. So this is actually even worse because now I can't just straight farm down this Bastiodon. I have to throw some energy as well. And it was a really smart play by them. It makes no sense for me to shield there. So that's why I just let the Pelipper go. There's no way you win that just because the Bastiodon just is going to do so much damage. Now, they actually hard swapped their Medi here, which makes me think that they probably have another Bastiodon counter as well, which is why they're willing to just pivot out of this matchup. So, yeah, they're not worried about the Bastiodon because they have still G-Fist, right? So now they just need to get rid of this Mew, which is going to be a slight problem for their team. But I am able to grab a shield with this Mew and draw another Surf. Now, this is really going to pay off. I grabbed the shield there and still took out the Bastiodon without taking really too much additional damage. So I'm going to double up on Surfs here. And, you know, it's still not over because this Mew is not going to live long enough to throw one more Surf, which I need to KO this Stunfisk. So I am going to shield this. It's kind of a risk. Could be a bait, but fortunately they go straight for the Earthquake. Figure they're really close to Earthquake now, but luckily I just get to a Flamethrower in time. Really tough line for this team, especially with the lead and the counter swap, but still have a lot of play, right? Obstagoon lead with double Charmers in the back, right? Double Shadow Charmers. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, if I was really running double Charmer lines, which I probably would never, I would run the bulkier Charmers, because now they can't even win Switch with the Charmer because they're so frail. And I come in with Mew here. I kind of expected another Charmer in the back, potentially like a Wigglytuff or whatever. Mew's not great against Obstagoon, but it's still your best check, especially with shields up. Obstagoon and Scrafty are definitely core breakers for this line. Alright, so I just come in to smack down the Scramble. Grabbing this shielding the close combo is going to be really nice because this Bastiodon is going to be able to really chunk away at this Obstagoon, and my Mew is going to win CMP. So once I land one more Stone Edge, I should be able to win this matchup. They actually quit out. So getting an Obstagoon lead into Bastiodon to quit out is always a great thing to see. Alright, this is probably one of the hardest leads ever, and some people have asked me this in the YouTube comments before, but I never actually faced it until now. Unova Stunfisk lead. The tricky part is it's not very easy to safe swap into because it's also good against Pelipper, right? But my guess is that's still their best check to Bastiodon, so they have to eventually swap out. I do shield. I think it's a valuable shield to still spend because otherwise your switch timer is just not even up yet and they can just lock you into a really bad matchup next, right? If I just let that go, I come in Mew, they just lock in their Sableye. I can't really swap out that matchup. Now, I'm able to at least be on even shields, and as you can see, I'm spamming away at this Mew. This is not a great matchup. It is one that I could potentially win, but what I need to do is tank the Sky Attack, and then go for the Wild Charge, and then go for the Surf to take out this Skarmory, and then now hopefully land a Surf against this Stunfisk. They are going to be able to get to move here. Fortunately, my debuffed defense is not going to, it's still going to keep me alive long enough to come in with the Bastiodon and land another Surf, right, with the Mew. This is kind of an interesting one, but luckily these Mud Bombs aren't going to be hurting as much as like an Earthquake, and they're able to finish off the Stunfisk. So a very disastrous lead, but again, still able to kind of clutch it out. Alright, so I don't usually show Talonflame leads with this team because it just demolishes Talonflame. So you got Pelipper, that's a really strong check to Talonflame, Bastiodon, and even Mew. Both of Mew's movesets have play against Talonflame, right? But this opponent here actually plays it very well, so I just want to kind of showcase it because I think it's a pretty exciting match. Now, this is kind of an interesting one. So this Meganium is definitely really tough for my line. They actually do a great swap to Talonflame here, but because of that, I'm just going to throw these double Weather Balls. I think it's smart for them not to shield because they know that there's not too much play here. So I expect something to come in. I just swapped to my Mew just so that I have the Pelipper still around for a potential sack and I don't get farmed down with Mud Shots. Getting farmed down with Mud Shots here would have been really rough. I am going to shield what potentially might be Earthquake, which it is. So that's really good. And then now I really need to get rid of this Quagsire because it's very strong against my Bastiodon as well. I'm probably going to get hit with Earthquake, but they actually swap out here. Anticipating me to throw the Surf, so I'm going to take out this Meganium. And I'm going to pivot to my Pelipper and hopefully catch an Earthquake, which I fortunately do. Definitely was probably the win con there. My Bastion was very low on health, so it would have been a tough matchup. So really well played by my opponent, despite a really disastrous lead, actually. Alright, so this is one of Verg's line variations with the Shadow Hypno and Scrafty, and sometimes it's an Umbreon, sometimes it's a Munchlax. So something I notice a lot of people do, especially with lines they're less familiar with, is they'll swap out when you're in a good lead and they swap into something else that you're still in a good matchup for, right? So for example, Bastian beats Hypno, Bastian also beats Munchlax, right? Is there a reason for you to actually go into anything else? Because Munchlax would actually beat everything you could swap to, right? It's much better just to stay in because you have the Mew for the Hypno, right? So it's much better to stay in that specific matchup. They actually come in now with their Hypno. Again, this is not too bad. Most Shadow Hypnos are not running Shadow Ball. I mentioned that in the Cancer Cup video. A lot of people are like, well, I ran into a bunch, right? Again, it's a Shadow Hypno. I have run into one Shadow Hypno that was running Shadow Ball, but most of the Shadow Hypnos are not. Just because they do output so much damage with their punches, they don't really need the harder hitting Shadow Ball. But once in a while you see it, and in that situation, you just take the L, right? But the majority of times, it's okay to spend the shield on the foul play. It makes a little more sense for this matchup. Going straight for the Hurricane, able to take out the Scrafty. Alright. Okay, so against an Umbreon right here, obviously a very positive lead for this team. It's not like the best lead ever, but Bastiodon does beat it consistently, and you don't want to see this Umbreon against a Mew, and not really against the Pelipper either. It's so bulky, it's going to outbulk the Pelipper. So you really just want to stay in here. Once you get rid of this Umbreon, usually the Mew has a lot of play in the back end. Not always, but usually, right? It's unlikely to have another Dark in the back. Sometimes it might have a Ghost, but a little bit less likely. Alright, so here comes the Psychic Pokemon here. This is good. Mew's going to do great against its Deoxys defense. It actually is running Thunderbolt, which probably means that's running Thunderbolt with Psycho Boost, which means you can really time out these moves really well because you'll know exactly if they're throwing a Psycho Boost or a Thunderbolt. So this is definitely going to be a Psycho Boost as I was counting it, so I knew I didn't have to shield. This also gives a little bit less farm to the Umbreon. I'm going to spam to swap right away to my Pelipper because I expect the Umbreon to come back in. Actually is a Galvantula. Now this actually makes things a little bit trickier now because it is actually quite a strong check to my Pelipper. And they did spend a shield. This is probably going to be a lunge, but I kind of need to shield it anyway. Just because I don't really want that matchup against my Mew. And then now you can see I'm coming with my Mew. I made a slight misplay here. I shouldn't have thrown this move because I was going to get to another charge move. So instead, that Shadow Claw might have gone through and taken out the Umbreon, but now they actually get enough energy to throw the foul play. So really well played by my opponent despite not a great lead and really bad counter swap, right? But definitely some mistakes that I made as well that I could have capitalized on to do a little better. But again, another Whiscash into a Galvantula counter swap. Again, disastrous lead, disastrous counter swap, but that Pelipper still could force a shield, which is really, really nice here. Grabbing that shield advantage is really solid for this backline because now I have a little bit more play. If I was the opposing player, if you're using Galvantula into a Pelipper, I highly recommend you just throw the energy when you have it. That way you don't get into a situation where you have to shield the Galvantula to main switch, right? Sometimes you might think it's worth it, but to be honest, when they have a Bastiodon lead, it just doesn't make too much sense, right? Because you have that extra energy, but it's not going to do much against the Bastiodon, even if you go straight discharges. I think it's much better just to throw the energy so you maintain even shields, right? So this is probably going to be a Mud Bomb, and I'm okay with that. I am going to shield... No, I let it go. Okay. I think I just come in Bastion. I'm okay with just... Oh, they actually swap here. So this is actually pretty good for me. I'm probably going to undercharge this just so I get Stone Edge ready. I still have a shield for the Whiscash, so it's going to be really solid for me. And again, these Sky attacks aren't going to do too much. Brave Bird will hurt a little bit more, but I still need a shield. I'm going to save the shield for the Whiscash, go straight for the Stone Edge, and take it out right here. Alright, a newer Pokemon. With the poison buff, Shadow Nidoqueen has been pretty popular, as well as regular Nidoqueen. This is kind of going to be an interesting one. So Meganium is pretty rough against this line, so I really want to get rid of this. But I am going to try to bait out a shield with the Hurricane, with a Weather Ball, and now go for Hurricane. And luckily I landed, so this is huge. I end up flipping Switch here. I probably don't survive this Poison Fang, but I just come in with Mew. Mew has an okay matchup, especially with the Surf. Really solid catch by my opponent right here. Now here's the weird part. So this Politoed is actually very strong against my Bastiodon as well. So again, 3 Bastiodon counters: Nidoqueen, Politoed, and Meganium, right? Hopefully I do catch a Weather Ball here, which is really nice. And then I'm just hoping they don't have Earthquake, which it doesn't seem like they do. Which is going to be really good because now I have a lot of play against this Politoed. I am going to try to Stone Edge it because that would actually KO it. Really solid catch. So that's 2 catches now that my opponent made, which is really well played by them. I think I actually do survive this Poison Fang, which is kind of wild. But that's kind of how tanky Bastiodon is, and it's just super resisted by its typings. Alright, I go straight for the Shadow Claw down, and now I have 2 back-to-back Wild Charges to finish off the Politoed. So again, against 3 Bastiodon counters, you still have play, right? You just have to understand kind of how to play out certain matchups and really when to use your shield and when not to. Alright, Diggersby. Definitely a tougher one. You don't see super often, but very strong against Bastiodon because it's super tanky. Much tankier than the Mud Boys as well. Such as Swampert, and might be similar on bulk with Whiscash. But anyway, again, you need to grab a shield against the Azu. They actually double shield here. This is good. So they're committed, but it's kind of too late for them at this point because after they shield the first Weather Ball, there's really no way they could win Switch Advantage. I am going to just shield this one and just wing attack down. Have a lot of energy left. They actually come in with their Medicham. So again, triple Bastiodon counters, right? How do we come out of this one? So unfortunately, I can't stay in. I can't come in Bastiodon into this Medicham. So unfortunately, I do have to take another Ice Punch, but I'm just going to commit to a farm down here. I'm going to spam Surf no matter what it is. I know the Azu is low on health, but I just don't want to get hit by a fast move. Now I'm going to go for another Surf again. I'm going to go straight for the Pelipper and then go for the Weather Ball. I knew I had a little bit of energy left here. Now I put the Diggersby quite low here. They're probably going to throw a Fire Punch, but now it's at a health range where my Bastiodon could potentially handle. I know I still have an Earthquake. Diggersby is pretty bulk weighted, so this Earthquake won't hurt nearly as much. And then able to finish it off. Yeah, so some wild matches, but again, this team has a lot of play, even against teams with triple counters to the lead, right? I can't emphasize this enough, right? Obviously, I could come out with a bunch of other lines that are less effective, but it'd be disingenuous for me to say that they're better than this line, right? I'll obviously make other lines down the road as well, but just wanted to highlight how good this line is. If you're not convinced, hopefully this video does convince you. All right, so against the Empoleon lead, really bad. And then there's a Nidoqueen safe swap, but they come in Empoleon here. This is a good sign for me because this probably means that they are weak. They are slightly weak to Mew in the back, right? And of course, it's Azu in the back. Really interesting line. Empoleon lead with Azu in the back. Makes me think, I don't know how they deal with certain grass leads, but clearly it's been working for them to a degree. Alright, so I'm going to shield the play rough here, and it's okay even if it's a play rough because I know that I get the Stone Edge in time and able to finish it off. Empoleon is definitely a very, very strong lead against the Bastiodon as well because you're resisting the all of the Smackdowns as well. Alright, going against my opponent here, they're running triple counter team, right? Again, a team that has triple counters to Bastiodon. And with a disastrous lead, right? I think it'd be a little better if the lead was at least against one of the normal types. Fighters that aren't resisting or counter users that aren't resisting the Smackdown damage. This is actually one of my patrons too, and you'll see what happens right here. But they actually did clarify something for me. But it was a slight overtap apparently on that matchup, right? So definitely gave me a little bit of hope here. Once I saw Obstagoon, I wasn't surprised. I had to come in Bastiodon versus Obstagoon. Very unfortunate, but it's pretty much what I have to do because the Medicham is very, very bad against, very strong against the Bastiodon, so I really can't have that matchup. And I do come in with Mew here at this point. They actually do a great swap to their Medicham, which is really solid. But I know that Mew's going to win the CMP versus the Obstagoon, so what I'm going to do is farm up to double charge moves here, and then throw the Surf at the Obstagoon. I think my, actually I have a Wild Charge ready, so I might just go straight for the Wild Charge. I think my Bastiodon was close to move as well, but yeah, able to win out against that one. And as you can see, claiming a 5-0 set from 19, getting all the way to my final ELO in rank 20. Like I said, I think this is one of the best teams currently out there for Great League open meta, and so if you're looking for a team to really consistent climb, I think this is still very solid even after the moveset updates to the poisons and the various other things. A big shout out and thank you to all my patrons who've been supporting my content creation. If you would like to have early access to some of my strategies and lineups, or see behind the scenes footage of my battles, feel free to sign up in the link down below. If you like this video, feel free to give it a like and share, subscribe for future content, hit that notification bell to get alerted right when I post a new video, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.